This is the Halfling. I'm here with the Spaceman. We're at Mythic Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is a gaming convention, and we're here to have a good time and meet some new folks. Hey guys, this is the Halfling, still here at Mythic Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're having a great time. Things are starting to wrap up. This is the last day of the convention. But we are very delighted to have these two gentlemen behind me talk about the convention. And there's a sister convention. This gentleman to my left will also talk about that. So we're going to start the ball rolling with you introducing yourself.
All right, thank you very much. My name's Richard Fortuna, and I'm with the Mythic Con staff. We have been very happy to be hosting this first large convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is our first year running Mythicon. We ran our first inaugural Mythicon West, which is a smaller convention in Asheville, North Carolina, earlier this year. But yeah, we're longtime gamers, but first-time game organizers. So I'm going to pass it over to my colleague here.
All right, thank you, Richard. My name is Nick Poulimas. I'm also one of the organizers here, and like Richard said, we've been gaming together for a while. As a matter of fact, we happen to have met at one of the previous MACE conventions, and we're just, pleased beyond belief to be able to continue it with Mythicon. We are obviously, this is our first year in Charlotte. So far, everything seems to have gone really well, and we hope people are pleased with the event. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in the convention. What have the events been, and what's the attendance been like?
Well, Richard, you want to start with those numbers?
Yeah. I was actually just checking on that this morning. Well, we've had a little over 500 attendees for this event, which we don't really have a frame of reference, but we're told that this is a good turnout. But the events we've had, we have a lot. So we've had role-playing games, board games, card games. We've had open play to win. We've had live-action role-play. We've also had a number of indie game developers over in our gallery who are demoing their games. We have one of the signature things of our con that makes us a bit different is that we have a fairly sizable crafting track. In fact, right now we have a gentleman who flew out all the way from Dallas to teach a class on wiring LEDs for terrain. So, and we usually have an annual large kind of impromptu crafting competition where the contestants are given materials and a theme, and they have to build, build something in 4 hours. And we had a very large turnout for that too. So we have a lot of stuff going on, and miniature games as well, and a fairly sizable vendor room. I mean, over 20 vendors. So we're here. So yeah, it's been a busy weekend.
So Nick,
Yes.
Just a quick question. How long did it take y'all to organize this convention? And we should also mention, the sister convention that's in Asheville.
Right.
So how long did it take y'all to organize this?
Well, I would say it took a very long time, and we helped out with the last convention from the previous con goers. So, which was the last one was called Jeff Con, in honor of Jeff Smith, who had done Mace for 25 years. And so that was kind of getting our feet wet. And I'd say ever since that convention was finished last year, we have been working hard to prepare for this one. So we took a lot of life lessons from assisting Ron McClung and getting that one set up. And then we had the practice con, so to speak, with Mythic West in Asheville. So that was a little bit smaller. And now that we're in Charlotte, we've pulled all that knowledge together and figured out that we still don't know what we're doing. but we're having a lot of fun, and things went a lot smoother than anyone of us could have imagined. Yeah, I mean, we really pulled together as a team, and we figured things out, and there were things that, were coming up that we just had to problem solve, and I think it went really well. Everyone seems to be pleased.
Good. Well, so have y'all seen a lot of familiar faces from Mace?
Yes, absolutely. We've seen a lot of familiar faces
and a lot of new faces.
And a lot of new faces because we've been trying to advertise in different avenues that we've never done before, or I guess the previous con has never done before. So we've been trying to put some outreach and put people on our social media as well. We wanted to kind of spread the word, mostly thanks to Karen Montgomery, who is also a member of our team, to kind of say this is what Charlotte has to offer. This is the geekery that's around. These are the stores that are around. These are your people. And so she has kind of posted up a whole bunch of stores, which, to be quite honest, I didn't know even that half of them existed. And I am just really glad to get the word out in that way, that we do have a lot, and that I'm glad that several of them could be here.
To expand on that a little bit, I don't know if we went too much into the history before this convention, but we are actually taking this convention over from the previous ownership. The Mace, or Mid-Atlantic Convention Expo conventions, ran for 25 years, and then the organizer, Jeff Smith, passed away suddenly last year, right before the last Mace West. And so we got together with Ron McClung, who was his partner and who did the gaming organization for Mace, and with his help, and we were able to take over and pretty much pick up where we left off. And so we have seen a lot of familiar faces around this weekend, which is great, and gotten very positive feedback generally. But I'm glad to see so many newer and younger faces showing up, so that we can keep this going into the future.
Kind of pass the torch, so to speak.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, so outside of organizing your own convention, I'm sure you guys attend conventions as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's your preference in terms of size of the convention? Because we've heard some people enjoy the larger conventions and some people enjoy the smaller conventions. So what's your preference?
I do a little bit of both. So just a couple of months ago, I was at Nova Open, which is a very large Warhammer 40K convention. Well, not just 40K, but miniatures in general, because miniatures are kind of my thing. But I've been to that. I've been to Gen Con. I've been to some of the other big ones. But this convention specifically is the one that I call home.
Sure.
So the smaller conventions give you that more personal, intimate connection. And this is the one that I come back to because this is where my friends are.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, my answer is pretty similar. I don't get to go to a lot of the larger conventions. I do also prefer the smaller ones that are local. I've been to Origins, which is a great big one. That one's overwhelming. But some of the more local ones that I enjoy going to on the regular are Scarab, Mega Moose Con, and Tantrum Con. So I'm sure there's others, but right now those are the ones that come off the top of my head. And like Richard said, this has always been my favorite convention to go to when it was Mace, and now that it's Mythic Con, we just want to continue to provide that kind of friendship and support to everyone who used to come, and we don't want to see it go away. So we decided to pick up that torch literally and keep this convention going to just continue all of those wonderful friendships.
Yeah. What would you say is the most challenging, or what has been the most challenging part of putting this together?
That's a tough one. There's been a lot of different challenges with organization and pretty much just trying to figure things out, like as far as what's the best thing to do when. And so there's a little bit of a learning curve with that. We've tried out some new things this year that we haven't done before, so we get a little ambitious, right? So we're like, not only are we doing the con for the first time, but let's try 12 new things.
And let's not get enough volunteers to handle it all.
Yeah. So we're definitely reaching out to people. I think one of the biggest things was also awareness that this con is still in existence, but in a different name and a different form. And so that has been challenging in the beginning, because we did get a lot of the community saying that this con was gone. It was done when obviously when Jeff Smith passed away. And so trying to convince people that we are doing the same thing and trying to do it in a very similar fashion. It'll be similar but different. Getting that message across in the beginning was a little difficult, and I hope that we didn't lose some people in the translation. But if we did lose some people, then hopefully they'll be aware and they'll come back.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today about the convention. And before we sign off, tell us where people can find out about Mythic Con for next year.
Richard.
All right. So the best place to find information about all of our events is going to be our website, which is www.gamesforallevents.com. From there, you can get links to our tabletop.events site for Mythic Con West, and then once we get ready for Mythic Con 2024, we'll have that up there too. Mythic Con West, we just opened up the badge registration this weekend. You can already get your badge and your hotel room. So both of those are open. So
it's going to be in Asheville.
And that's in Asheville, March 1st through 3rd, 2024. So that is actually the best way to get to us or to find out about the conventions. We also have our Facebook group, and our which is a good place to connect with other con goers. We're also working on a Discord. It's not there yet, but we're looking at that, trying to get into the 21st century on that front.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Again, it's one of those. We want to do it all at once, but we'll get there.
Right.
We'll get there.
Well, Richard, Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it, and we've had a great time here, and we look forward to y'all just having much success with future conventions.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
For joining us.
This is the Halfling signing off. Hey guys, this is the Halfling. We're still here at Mythic Con in Charlotte, and we're talking to our first guest. We appreciate you joining us this morning.
By all means.
So, tell us your name and a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Todd Holiman, and in no particular order, I am a longtime IT professional, an even longer time gamer, a member of Clarion Game Studios, in fact the lead design these days, and in no particular order.
Okay. And what would you say your first fandom love was? The thing that drew you into being a fan early on?
Well, I started playing Dungeons & Dragons at the ripe young age of 4.
Oh, my goodness.
Long, long ago, many moons, as it were.
Wow.
I should probably doff my cap. See, when I mean many moons, I mean many moons. But I was always an inquisitive youngster. I was actually reading at the age of 2.5, and I still devour books to this day.
Yeah.
So it's more of when was I not in some sort of fandom, more than when was I in a fandom.
Yeah.
So I've been involved in gaming and science fiction and fantasy for pretty much my entire existence.
Okay. Well, I think you're the first person that I've met that actually got into role-playing games at 4 years old.
Yeah. I don't claim that I was good at it, but I was good at it.
I mean, the fact that you could participate at any level was pretty cool.
Again, I don't want to break my own arm patting myself on the back here, but apparently I was pretty smart as a kid.
Yeah, apparently. Well, so one of the things about our podcast is we talk about passive versus active fandom.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously you are an active fan.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Not only do I engage I've got cosplay on from one fan universe, I design games in several other universes, I run games in yet more universes. I'm all over the place.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it. So, what would you say to people that are wanting to do something creative, wanting to get into, and be more part of fandom and become active? What would you say to them? What advice would you give them?
This is going to sound trite as all get out, but do it.
Yeah.
Go do it. Go get it done, and accept the fact that your first couple attempts are going to be failures, and they don't matter. It doesn't matter that you failed. It matters that you tried, and you'll come back and do it again if you so choose, and you'll do it better. The first attempt I ever had at making a costume for anything, the theory was it was supposed to be a pair of trousers. I don't even know quite what to describe it as that came out of that project. So I went back and said, okay, well, maybe sewing my own costuming is not for me. So I worked out a costume that I didn't have to sew anything. And the second costume, well, I think this looks decent. But accept the fact that you're going to try, accept the fact that not all your tries are going to work, but the fact is that doesn't matter as long as you're having fun with it. That's the whole point.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that, we try to encourage our listeners is, is just do it. Don't be afraid of the failure.
Take a swing. I mean, I always wanted to be a game designer since I was little. It didn't seem to be something I could make a lucrative career out of, so I didn't pursue it hard. I didn't go into game design in college. I didn't even finish college until about a year ago. But that's my own fault. I wound up over in the IT world because I've got a lot of family in computing and all that kind of stuff. But what I realized is that there's no point in just wishing you could have. I wound up finding something that I was able to speak intelligently about and getting involved with a company who was already building a game, and now I'm the lead design on several games. I've got 2 in testing right now, 3 on the market, of which I helped make 2. So you can do it. You just have to manage your own expectations.
Well, speaking of costuming, how proudly outside of conventions or when you are with the group playtesting, how proudly do you wear your fandom? Like I have Hellboy figures at work in my cubicle,
right.
Ghostbusters. I mean,
I don't do a lot at work because where I work, you really can't. I mean, most of my work is done over the telephone, and you can't see any of my stuff there.
Right.
But the requests of the management there ask for a certain level of somewhere between professionalism and decorum is the best way I'll call it.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to abide by that. So I don't do a lot there. But on the other hand, the background on my screen at work is a big yellow triangular sign photograph. It says, "Out of whack," and below that's another small sign that says, "More whack has been ordered." Considering that I work in tech support, it makes even more sense. So, I do a little bit there at work, but out in the world, it's rare to not see me in some sort of a gaming or geekery related t-shirt. It is rare that I don't have a pun right in my back pocket waiting to come out. So...
Well, switching gears just a minute, because we are at a convention.
Yeah.
How important are conventions to you?
Oh, they are huge for me. This is my tribe, as it were. This is where I come here and I recharge. I come, drives my wife crazy because we'll get to a convention and she goes, "Okay, well, take your time getting out of the car, and where do you go?" because by the time she's gotten her seatbelt off, I've got half the car unloaded and I'm trying to run in the door. Drives her up a tree. I'm getting better about it. I've managed to get where I can get most of the car, most of the way unloaded, but not into the building already. I've slowed down a little. But it drives her nuts because, she suddenly won't see me for 3 days. Of course, I did the smart thing. I recruited her into the fandom. She's over there.
Well, there you go. There you go. A family that plays together stays together, right?
One would hope.
Well, do you prefer larger or smaller conventions?
Honestly, I'm happy right about the size we're at now. From the aspect of a game designer and a game vendor, I've worked cons small, large, and in between. I mean, the smallest one I can mention was what used to be called Mini Mace, was up in Kernersville, and it was one room, one fellowship hall room in a small church up there. If you could fit 75 people in that room if you pounded them in with a hammer. On the other hand, I've also worked Origins.
Yeah.
Up in Columbus at that gigantic convention center.
Right.
Which, let me tell you, when I say I worked Origins, I worked Origins.
Yeah.
It is not an easy task to work a booth in the vendors hall.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried it, believe me, you don't know. You may think you know, you get to go play games all week. No, it's work.
Well, the Spaceman has been to Origins for vending, and
absolutely.
He's come back with some stories. I didn't get the opportunity to go, but he has. Well, what's the furthest you've ever traveled for a convention?
Personally, I used to live in Connecticut, and I drove from Stamford, Connecticut to Milwaukee, Wisconsin in a used 82 Firebird that a friend of mine had just bought. That was Gen Con 1991.
Okay.
So that's the furthest I've personally traveled for a convention. That was in my youth. Since I became a designer and started doing things, I would say that Columbus from here in the Charlotte area is about as far as I've been. We've also done a couple of conventions up in the Northeast where we're from. We even drove up there once, so I'd have to check a map to see which was longer, but Columbus felt longer.
Okay. Well, just one more question, really. Do you get the opportunity to attend panels when you go to conventions, or are you
once in a very long while? I'll get into panels, but I don't do a lot with it. Honestly, most of the time I'm here stapled to the table demoing my games for people, which is both wonderful and terrible. I love seeing people come up. I love seeing them play my games. I love seeing them buy my games. But once in a while, I feel like I missed the con because I was here all the time. Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah.
And last question, and we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today. What's your favorite thing about con going?
I mentioned that this grouping of people, if you will, was kind of my tribe, as it were. And I think my favorite thing is being able to see and interact with and relate to people who are on my wavelength, because there's not that many of us out there in the universe. And getting a bunch of us into one place is really good for me because it really lets me de-stress. It lets me step away from all of the troubles I may have in life. I don't know. Right now, I might have a car problem. I might have somebody at work being a whatever. Yeah. Being a pain in my backside. I might have some problem with a user that can't get their head out of their backside. I might have, umpty-ump in student debt or God knows what else, and none of it matters right now because I'm at a con.
Right. Yeah.
For a couple of days, I get to step away from all of the really irritating things in reality and just have some fun.
Yeah.
And I cannot place a value on that.
Yep. Well, that's something that we hear a lot because you use the word tribe. And that's the feeling that we get, and that a lot of people that have been on our podcast have gotten the same feeling.
This is our people.
Yeah. You come and it's like coming home. It's like these are the people that get me.
Exactly.
And,
I start talking about gaming to my mother, and I get blank look, no idea, not a clue.
Right.
I start talking about it to some of the folks at work, and they're smiling and nodding, and I can tell they have no idea what I'm talking about. But around here, if I watch somebody trip and go, whoop, there goes that dex check, people will laugh. Oh, geez, rolled a 1, huh? There you go. Around here, that makes sense. Out there in the universe, you get the weird looks.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you again for taking the time.
By all means.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. And we wish you the best with your gaming. And, good sales to you. And we will see you around.
I'll be here.
All right. This is the Halfling. Hey guys, this is the Halfling. We're still here at Mythic Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, talking to some great people. And we're going to be wrapping up for the day. But before we do, wanted to talk with one more person. Let me get you to introduce yourself.
I'm Stephen Llambias. I'm a game designer, podcaster, writer. I've been a nerd and a geek my whole life.
That sounds a little familiar. So tell us about your game design.
So I actually got. Well, I suppose it actually started growing up playing all types of games. My family always had board games. I would play with my friends all the time, and me and my friends would play certain games so much that we started to see them in terms of the nuts and bolts of how the games worked, and would start creating custom rules and everything. So fast forward to 2016, and I met Clarion Game Studios, and I joined on with their operative network for promoting. And one of the things that comes with that is having access to the developers of the game and being able to put forth ideas. And I just took to it and eventually was one of the secondary designers on the Four Horsemen Omega War game that Clarion released a couple of years ago.
Okay. So do you think at an early age is that something you wanted to do? Did you see yourself designing games at an early age?
It wasn't something I necessarily wanted to do. I didn't even, I mean, growing up, I didn't really think about the people that make the board games. But as I got older and played more games and was, introduced to more different types of games, it was really, it just kind of happened naturally. And, when you start thinking about how games work and what makes a game good, what makes a game bad, it makes it a lot more fun to find new games in that case. So then I just started, I started making games almost by accident, really.
Okay. Well, so what would you say is your earliest fandom? What was the thing you were into at the earliest age?
That has got to be. So that I can remember, it would be Power Rangers.
Okay.
But I know for a fact that I was very, very into books as well. So I was read to constantly. It was to the point where I would take the book and even if I couldn't actually read, I knew what was on the pages, and that was how I learned to read, was having Dr. Seuss books memorized and knowing what was on the pages.
Right.
So books were a very big influence. The first one I got really, really obsessed with was Power Rangers.
Okay. Well, that's a new one. Most people say, Star Wars or Star Trek or comics, that type of thing. So it's nice to hear a different answer, somebody else's perspective. So we're here at a convention. How often do you go to conventions?
So I usually go to about 4 to 6 conventions a year. It'll vary sometimes just depending on scheduling. But most of what I go to are gaming conventions like Mythic Con. And then there are some more fandom-oriented conventions, more general conventions that I go to around the area.
Okay. Are you from the Charlotte area?
I currently live in the Charlotte area.
Okay.
I'm originally from New Orleans.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I would think that New Orleans would make for some fascinating back material for gaming.
It would. It's just a shame that I wasn't really in that headspace when I lived down there.
Yeah. Different place, different time. You know?
Yeah.
Well, so how important do you think conventions are to promoting your product, as well as just supporting overall fandom?
I think it's incredibly important. I think one of the most important things, especially for a gaming con like this, is the opportunity for local gaming stores to promote themselves and say, hey, we're in this area, this is a small sample of what we have. Mm-hmm. And, local gaming stores are one of the best ways for people to get into, tabletop games, board games. So having that venue for both the stores and for people that publish like us, it's an amazing way to reach more people without having to, go to the gaming stores that all have, if they have the same clients, all the time, then we're not going to find any new customers. We're not going to find a new audience.
Right.
Because, the whole reason I am with Clarion Game Studios is because I met them at a con, mm-hmm. and they showed me their game, and I loved it so much that I was teaching it by the end of the weekend.
Wow. You've already said, you got a good grasp of game mechanics early on. Just by virtue of playing so much when you were young.
Yes.
So I'm sure that's been a great benefit to you designing games. So how many games have you actually designed at this point?
So I have done some developmental work for Hull Breach. It's mostly small scenario games that we've published so far. The only published game I have currently is the Four Horsemen Omega Wars, mm-hmm. But I was at the ground level for that. I was in the initial meetings. Mm-hmm. I do have some other projects in development, mm-hmm. but they're all very far down the line.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what's the furthest you've ever traveled for a convention?
First I've ever traveled, I think, is Raleigh, which is about 3 hours from here. Mm-hmm. I think that's furthest I've gone for an actual convention. I have, I've visited game stores in other cities, but I was there for another reason already.
Yeah. Well, that's what you do when you go somewhere. When you go somewhere new, you got to check out the gaming store.
Exactly.
Well, I had a question in my mind, and it just went out of my mind. So, do you prefer smaller conventions or larger conventions, or a little bit of both?
So I think for what I'm doing, the small to mid-range conventions usually work the best. Mm-hmm. Usually when you go to these larger conventions, you have a 6x6 booth, if you're lucky sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it can be difficult, like we run demos here, it can be difficult to do that in a very narrow space where you're just in a line with 100 other people. Mm-hmm. But conventions like this that are the smaller to mid-range are great for us because we can get a lot of foot traffic through here, but at the same time we're not overwhelmed, mm-hmm. and we have enough space to spread out.
Yeah. Well, now if you're just going to a convention as an attendee, mm-hmm. same answer basically.
As an attendee, I think. Yeah, I think the same. I've never been to any of the big conventions, the Dragon Con, Comic Con, but I feel like this is an environment that I gel more with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, tell everybody before we sign off here. Tell everybody where they can find information about Clarion Games and just whatever else you want to throw out there for the pitch.
Right. Well, I think Clarion Game Studios, we have a web presence. I don't remember. So we have a ClarionGameStudios.com, and then we have WholeBreachGame.com, which was the original site for Whole Breach. And that's the best places to find Clarion. You can find them on Facebook and Twitter. Those pages are not, super active, but they are a potential way to reach them. For me personally, the main way to find me is on my podcast.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning that, because we didn't get a chance to talk about that. Tell us about your podcast.
So I do the Retro Odyssey Podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about retro video games.
Okay.
We pick a topic every month, every episode. We haven't been able to do monthly for a while. And we pick a topic, pick games that fit with that topic, and then just talk about them. Talk about how much we liked the game, or what we thought could have been better, that kind of thing. And then I've got some other podcasts in development that are that they're not ready to publish, but they are in progress.
Okay. Well, tell everybody where they can find the podcast.
So, Retro Odyssey, the best place to go would be Facebook. We have a Facebook page that we post all of the episodes to. We do have a WordPress page, but I don't remember the number off the top of my head. But yeah, you find us on Facebook at Retro Odyssey.
Either way,
Okay. Well, do you publish do you publish episodes like on Spotify?
Yeah, we're on most of the major podcast feeds, so you can find us in any podcast app.
Okay. Very cool. That sounds great. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. It's been great hearing about your journey into active fandom, because that's what we do. We talk to people about how they got from that little kid who was, reading the Star Wars or Star Trek books, or watching movies, to doing something cool like game designs or podcasts about different types of fandom. So we appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and kind of give us a little taste of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And this is the Halfling signing off.